Guys, today I'm working on a Toyota Corolla 2008 and I'm going to be changing the front brake pads on it. It's a relatively simple, easy job, but there are many out there that don't know how to do it, so I thought I'd put some tips out there so you guys can check it out. Alright, so I've basically already taken the tire off, okay, and I've also done the other side. So again, this is a fairly easy job. So this is the brake pads themselves. As you can tell, they're pretty low, pretty worn out, and the disc itself is not, the rotor is not messed up. It looks good. Usually you'd see some very heavy lines on it, but this one's in not too bad a shape. Again, this car, we're not going to spend too much money on it because it has over 280,000 miles on it. Yes, 280,000 miles. So again, just a quick pointer. I'm going to show you there's a jack under there. I also have the high lift jack here, just in case you should need to raise it up some more. And I'm going to show you the other side, so you guys can see. This is my tool. Oh my God, that thing's a lifesaver. So here's the other side. And again, not too bad. I could probably change these rotors out, but you know what? 228,000 miles? I don't think so. And there's the other jack supporting the other tire. Okay. All right. So, gonna get everything ready to start the process. And these are the screws that we're gonna loosen up, or the bolts actually. I'm sorry. It's this bolt right here, and then there's another one right down here. We're going to loosen those up, and then this is going to come right out. This is the brake caliper itself, and this is the rotor, you know, for those of you who are not sure. And then these are the brake lines here. So I'm just going to kind of lift it up and put it to the side. Alright, so I've pre-loosened these bolts just to make life a little bit easier. So I'm going to start taking those off now. That's one. And here's the other one at the bottom end. All right, so then this caliper is going to come out. We may need to convince it a little bit to come out. So I'm just going to use these scissors, and it's an easier way for me to just pry it out. And what I did was, right here there's a lip on this caliper, and here there's another lip, and I just kind of pried it out, and you see there's the caliper itself. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, so you can get the brake pads on here, is we're going to compress this. And this is the kind of tool that you use to compress the brake piston, and you can get these at any Advanced Auto Parts or any O'Reilly's, anything like that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to compress this here. Alright, so as you can see, this piston has gone in using this tool right here. And if you look here, the piston's completely flat. Okay, now we can take the brake pads out. The brake pads will just pop right out here. And in this case, they were a little low, but not too bad. As you can tell right here, it's about ready to be changed out, but they're not critical. They will still work for a little bit more. So now we're going to take out the other pad. And it's the same way, just prying it out with the screwdriver. If you pry towards the center, like this, the brake pads will come out a little easier. And here's your other brake pad. This device right here is actually, it warns you when the brake pad is dangerously low and it needs to be changed out. This will start rubbing on the rotor and make a long squeaking noise. This we're going to reinstall in the next pad. So we're just going to pry this guy out. And that's what it looks like right there. Do, we're going to clean this off a little bit with brake cleaner. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to put the other brake pads on. These are the brake pads we're going to use. They're premium disc pads, and these are from O'Reilly's. And this is not a sponsor of mine. I'm just using them and putting those on. So these are the brake pads here, and it comes in new clips. And we'll probably change out those clips, put all new clips on. And again, these are ceramic style pads, so they won't squeal and you won't have that brake dust all over. And these are again for a 2008 Toyota Corolla. Putting these brake pads on in the back, it's pretty easy. You're just gonna see like a little insert down here at the bottom where my thumb is, and then you're just gonna come straight up and it's gonna fall right into the insert on the top. The inserts I'm talking about are these inserts right here. There's one right here where my finger is, and then one directly below it right there where you can see that shiny area. And I'll show you how this one pops on. And again, it's really easy. Just put this guy in here, put that one in there, and you just squeeze it on. That's it. These already come with a noise resisting, it's like a laminate piece of metal that's on here, and it keeps the sound and it keeps everything down. Alright, so that's on, and then the next thing I'm going to do is put on the caliper, bolt it up, and you're pretty much done here. Of course, we have to work the brake pedal so this piston can come closer to the rotor, and you won't have brake failure as soon as you run out or walk out. And then I'll show you how to brake in the brakes themselves, and it's a quick process. You're going to brake just a few times going down the road really hard, and that should take care of everything. All right, so just hang on, and here we go. I did forget to mention one thing, and it's the this little preventive clip for the noise when the brakes are wearing down. And you can pretty much put these anywhere. I'm going to put it on this side here. There you go. Alright, so let me put this guy on. Okay, and then right here you're you're gonna see these tabs. Those tabs have to be aligned going in this direction so that you can get the brake caliper back on. And this basically just slips right on. You're gonna push these on so they can slip in. And that's it. Your brakes are on. Next thing we're gonna do is we're going to put the bolts in there to secure them. Okay, we have one on. So we've got those on. So now let's secure the nut, the bolts. Make sure we have it at the right setting. Remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, so that's about it. So now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, so just to do a quick recap, this is the caliper that we're gonna remove on the passenger side now. We're gonna have two bolts that we're gonna take off here, and then we're gonna put the new brake pads on there. And basically, for this type of system, all you need is 3 basic screws, your ratchet set, and this, for this particular car, it's a 14 millimeter. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's a 14 millimeter. Just a regular screwdriver. If you have a bigger screwdriver, that's fine, that'll work too. And then this piston, brake piston compression tool. And how this guy works is it presses up against here and uses this as a leverage device to then push the piston in. Okay, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get those brake pads on. All right, so now let's begin to take this one off. And again, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So we're going to head do this one. That one's loose. One's loose too. So we're going to take this one off of here. First bolt. Next bolt. Only 2 bolts to take off. So we use a screwdriver for this one. And as I said, there's a tab right here, kind of like a part where it comes in at an angle. You're gonna put your screwdriver right behind that and see how easy it pops out. That's basically it. Alright, so we're gonna finish popping that guy off. Then we're gonna flip this over. Alright, and there's your piston. You can actually do something else which is pretty neat. When you pull these out, put the screwdriver in between the middle of the pad, and you're going to go outward, and your pad's going to come right out. You can actually put the pad right here again, and then when you center this tool, let me bring it back to where it was. You're going to put the tool right in here and right towards the center, and you're going to squeeze it in just like that. And when this pad compresses against the piston, it's going to again bring that piston in and have it flush up against the caliper. pretty easy. Just a matter of twisting and twisting and twisting and twisting. All right. So that's compressed and in. As you can tell, nice and flush. I'm not going to wash this off. I'm going to do that when I finish. Just to do something a little different. All right. So I didn't replace these clips right here because they're fairly new. They're not rusted or anything, so why go through the hassle? Again, this is a 230,000 mile car, so we're just doing a little bit of maintenance on it. All right, so the first pads we're going to put on, and again, there's a little indentation where it fits inward. Kind of hard because I'm on the other side. I can't see very well. Got that guy in there, and again, it's just going to go in this slot right here, and there's another slot right up here. Okay, so you can see a little bit better on this side, and they kind of go in one direction. See how it's kind of curved? It follows the curve of the rotor, so you can't put it in this way. You got to put it in this way, so it follows the curvature of the rotor. So again, one goes in here, and then the other one you're just going to slide in and push in, and that's it. All right, that's the way it should be. There should be nice and round and flush here. It's going to be basically impossible to put this on the other way, but hey, anything's possible in this world. So again, we're just going to flip over the rotor, just going to put it right over the top, and these are the guys you got to push in to get the rotor on and have it flat this way. There's an indentation right here, and you're going to see this guide kind of falls within that indentation. All right, and the same thing on the other side. You're going to push that in, and then it's going to pop right in. So we'll do the screw on this side first. This is actually the hardest to get to. You just kind of move it around until that bolt goes in there, and then the same thing on this side. Okay, you're just gonna screw it on in. Okay, so now we're gonna tighten this guy up. Okay, I have a shorter wrench, so it's kind of hard. That's why I whack it like that. Get it nice and tight. All right, well, that's it. Get your brake pads on, switch the good ones, the bad ones to the good ones. You have to properly tighten these guys here. You don't need to mess with this hose or anything like that, so you don't touch none of that. And on this side, just so you guys can see, this is about how much material was left. Yes, it was getting kind of low. Basically, when you start seeing this line here disappear, that's when you're in danger. But of course, you would have to take it all apart to see that. So the best thing to do is maybe once a year, I mean, change them out. They're not very expensive, and it's fairly easy to do. It's going to take you about an hour to do the whole car. but you have to have the proper tools. You have to have a good lift, and also make sure you put a jack back there, back behind here. I don't know if you can see it, to secure, just to make sure this thing doesn't fall on you, because if it falls on you, you're gonna end up with a nice trip to the hospital. So basically that, and you may lose a couple toes in the process. All right, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get ready, go into the car, and we're gonna pump the brakes. The reason I'm pumping the brakes is because I want that piston to come back out, and it's gonna squeeze right here, and it's gonna be like self-adjusting for this rotor. Okay, right now the rotor kind of spins fairly easy. When I adjust that to it, it's gonna be tight, and this rotor is not gonna be moving too much. But I'm not gonna do that now. I'm gonna put the wheels on, and then see if I go inside the car, and as I said, pump up the wheel, pump up the brake, so I can get this caliper to adjust itself. All right, so basically that's about it for this part. Yep. Alright, so now we're going to put the nuts on this tire. And we'll be pretty much done with this side. Except, of course, for the cover that goes on here. But that'll be the last thing I do. Okay, that's it. This guy's done. So I'm gonna take the jack off the bottom, drop it aside, and we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, on the driver's side. Okay, so now we're doing the driver's side. And one thing I wanted to mention, if by any chance you look back into this area where your axles are coming in, or the actual spindle for this tire is, if you see oil that has fallen down, and sometimes a good amount, what it is when we compress this piston here, the excess oil that was in there from when the brakes have gone down, the thickness of the pads have gone down, that's extra fluid that you've poured in to adjust the level. So when you squeeze these together, now you're at the new height for the pads, the new thickness. So when you compress this, that extra oil is going to come back up through this tube out into your master cylinder, and it's going to pour out. So that's why you see oil. Don't freak out. It's not that you're leaking oil or anything. It's just that the excess oil from you having adjusted the amount of oil that was in your master cylinder from pouring in a little bit when you were doing maintenance and seeing that it was low, that's what that's from. Okay, so all you have to do is clean that off a little bit, and you're pretty much done. You may see some oil on the floor. I don't know if it shows up in the camera there, but there's some extra oil on the floor. That's from that reason. Okay, so now we're going to put this guy on, and of course you may need to readjust your brakes once you start hitting the brake pedal inside, because that piston is going to squeeze again, so some of that fluid is going to come down from your master cylinder. But we're going to take a look at that too and see what the levels are on that. Okay, so here we go. Let's put this guy on. Whenever you're doing this, the most important thing is to make sure your working area is secure. You have your jack on, you have your jacks under the car while you're working on it. Because again, it can be very, very dangerous and you can end up killing yourself or getting hurt really bad. Now when putting these on, it's good to do like a star pattern. Like when you're drawing a star, up and down like that. You go down, back across, and like that. Okay? And then go once around to make sure everything's fine. Alright, that's about it. So now the next steps we're going to do is I'm just going to put the covers on. I'm going to pump the brakes to get the piston to adjust. And then we're going to take a quick look at the fluid levels and the brakes. Alright, so we're at the top end now. Tires are on, covers are on, everything's all set. Alright, so this is the master cylinder. So we're going to take a quick look in the master cylinder and see what we see. Hang on, let me adjust this camera a little bit. Okay, so as you can tell, it's full to the top. The max is right here, so we may have to take some fluid out of this. Alright, so the max again is supposed to be down here. This is where it's at. And this is from all the prior times that you have put oil in it. When we close those cylinders, all that extra oil comes out, as I was saying. So it tends to spill out this way, and it goes down into the bottom of the car. But don't worry, just wash your car, and you'll be just fine. Alright, so we're going to put this back on. And later on, we're going to remove most of that. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pump the brakes, and that's pretty much about it. We're going to pump the brakes a few times till the pedal comes back up to where it's supposed to be. Then you're going to drive it up and down carefully and heat up the brakes. And what do I mean by heat up the brakes? You're going to speed up a little bit and hit the brakes really hard. Do that about 4 or 5 times, and that'll kind of let the brakes settle into your rotors. And basically that's about it. You're pretty much done. All right, so again, it's an easy thing, it's not a hard thing, but always be careful. Make sure it's safety first. You have your jacks in place, you're secure, the car is not going to fall on you. And then just take it by ear, play it by ear. You're going to see it's just a couple bolts on each side. Remove it carefully with a pair of screwdriver, and there's actually a tool for that too that you can use. So basically that's about it. I hope this was informative, and if you like it, again, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.